Welcome to debate again. We're going to talk more about the topic of what is debate in this slideshow. Debate, as we're talking about it right now in this class, has to do with policy debate, which is a form of debate that students across this nation and to some extent across the world compete in two-person teams. And they do this based on a resolution that is published and voted on nationally and is put out by the National Speech and Debate Association. That national topic includes hundreds of thousands of students across the nation using it for their debates. And in policy debate, that topic lasts for an entire school year. There are other forms of debate such as Lincoln Douglas and public forum debate and congressional debate where the topics change more frequently. The yearly topic is called the resolution. It's a statement of why the federal government, and always the federal government for U.S. policy debate, why the federal government ought to address a pressing national problem. Past topics include changing our foreign policy towards Russia, ocean conservation, and many others. The topic changes every year. I remember in 1986, I debated a resolution that had to do with protecting the earth and soil erosion and things such as that. It had to do with agriculture. So that topic can vary. Take a look at this year's resolution as you see at the bottom of this slide. You'll see it starts with, again, the United States federal government. Usually it will say the U.S. government should or should not or must do something. In every debate, two students propose a specific plan to enact the resolution, and their two opponents argue that their plan is a bad idea. Can you brainstorm a list of reasons why we might want to do something in particular? Let's say increase our exploration of the Arctic. Why might we want to do that? Well, you'll do that same time kind of brainstorming as you start to develop your skills in policy debate. And you'll find that debate is very creative and rewards your hard work. Creativity can come with hard work. The more research you do, the more thinking you do about a topic, the more creative ideas you can come up with. You may have seen debates on TV where people shouted or ignored each other's counter-arguments or seemed to be in a contest about who could attack the other person more effectively and more coyly or creatively. And that's not at all what our type of debate and our debate tournaments are like. In our debate, we want students to use a combination of logic, research, strategy, and persuasiveness to appeal to judges who are neutral and are focused on substantive, real issues and your ability to prove what the truth is about those issues. What does a debate look like? As I mentioned, it's two students from one school assigned to a side during a round to be affirmative, and they agree with the resolution. They're going to put forth a plan that they've created that falls within the scope of that resolution, and they'll compete against two students from another school who are assigned to be the negative. They disagree with the resolution. And these debates will just happen on a campus, in a classroom, in front of usually one judge, sometimes a panel if you're in the later rounds of that tournament. And if you get really successful and go to national and championship tournaments, you may even have an audience down the road. By that point, you'll have a lot of experience and you'll be in the running to win some huge awards. Not to mention the college scholarships and recognition that you'll get. So a debate will usually just consist of those 5 people. They're at least the most important ones in the room. The job of the affirmative is to prove that their proposal, which must fit under the resolution, is a good idea. The job of the negative is to prove that the affirmative proposal is a bad idea or that it doesn't fit under the resolution and is therefore an unfair proposal. The judge will vote for whichever team does the better job of proving their point. The judges try really hard to be neutral and not to take sides, but to let the debaters win or lose on their own merits. Being an eloquent speaker helps, but debate is much more to do with how well you support your arguments and use logic and explain with your oratory than it is about how pretty you sound. You will use a combination of research, logic, and strategic moves to win your debates. In that sense, it's an academic game, and it hones your skills to think well and think quickly. You'll be competing against some smart folks, and that'll help you to become one of those smart folks. The core of debate is refutation. Debaters will make their own points in their constructive speeches, and what they're responsible for responding to are arguments made by the other team. This is what makes debate different from other speaking contests. You're not just speaking about what you think, but you're responding to what the others think. Considering this following list of arguments in your formative, and write responses that prepare to refute them point by point. We'll learn more about going point by point in later lessons. The first one is cats are better than dogs because cats are cleaner. How might you respond to that? 2, prettier. And 3, respond to this one, more lovable. Once you're done with this example, move on to the next one in the formative. Let's try it again, but with a political example. We want to become more sophisticated as we move along here. We'll give you a chance to do that now. Consider this list of arguments again and write answers to prepare to refute them. We ought to weaponize space because 1, China is a threat and we need to be prepared. 2, other nations are weaponizing and it benefits us to be first. Or 3, weaponization will require massive new technology investments that will benefit the U.S. economy. These could be 3 major points in a constructive speech that an affirmative team might make about our need to weaponize space. How would you respond? Refute these point by point. This is something you'll want to practice and get good at in debate, is responding to each point that the other side is making. Let's take this topic. The United States federal government should significantly increase its exploration and or development of the Arctic because 1, strategic competition. Russia and China are expanding Arctic capabilities and access, and greater U.S. presence deters coercion and secures our interest. 2, economic and energy security opens safer Arctic shipping and accessing critical minerals, strengthens supply chains, and creates high-value jobs. And 3, science and resilience. Funding research, icebreakers, and resilient infrastructure improves climate forecasting, protects coastal communities, and enhances national security. Think about each of these points and practice responding to each. We're getting more complicated now and complex, and preparation is an important part of debate, so feel free to take a moment and do a bit of research or use a bit of artificial intelligence to help give you a head start and help yourself in responding to these more complex points. You'll learn a ton about the yearly topic, but you'll just also learn a ton about the world. Notice how this first point deals with Russia and China and our status in the international world, international relations. You'll learn a lot about those types of things. I guarantee you'll have a lot of ideas to refute this kind of common thread of arguments as you develop your skills. All debates follow that format. You keep track of what the other side has said by writing it down. We call this flowing in debate world. And then you respond to them. And you make your own points that they have to then respond to in order to stay competitive in the debate. So the basic format is they say something, and then you indicate your disagreement, and then you give your reasons for that. And you try to show that your argument is better because maybe it's better reasoned, makes more sense logically. You need to explain that. Maybe it's because you have the stronger evidence or the higher quality evidence or the more recent evidence, or maybe it's because of some historical or empirical support for your position, or because your position, while logically equal, is more impactful, more significant, and more important that the judge vote for. And then you say therefore, and you ask the judge to weigh these things and determine the outcome of the argument in a particular way. Let's practice this format. Respond to each of the following arguments using the format suggested above. 1. McDonald's is the best restaurant in the world. 2. Video games should be banned because they make teenagers violent. And 3. Schools should save families money by requiring uniforms. Try using this format mentioned for each of these points and see how you can do. Remember, this is just for practice. So just do your best, okay?